there's that thin line where you end up losing it and you start thinking that these things are normal, that this is okay to do in your household.
Welcome to Mama's Playground. This is Darlene.
And this is Monica.
How are you, Monica? How's the week going? I know back to school is the back to school is over.
We've been back to school already for I don't even know how long. Probably a month, no? 3 weeks?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. So how's it going with that?
It's good. It's good. The kids are doing good. Noah loved, I keep tapping my foot. Noah loved actually going to school. It was so crazy. We dropped him off at school. His teacher took him by the hand because they didn't let us go into the room with him.
This was the first day?
The first day. Okay. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to cry. And both Benjamin and I were like, bye, Noah. He literally turned around, gave a thumbs up and was like, I got this.
Oh my God.
And he's 3.
That's such a classic.
Yes. Yeah. So
like
he had a good time.
Thumbs up, like, hey, I got this. Because so many times it's us. So we're the ones that, oh my God, the first day of school,
yes.
my baby. And they're like, we're good.
Yes.
They're good.
So I was so happy because he hadn't cried at all. He likes to go to school. He likes to play. The teacher told me he's a big boy. I was like, oh, he's my baby. He's not a big boy.
And have you received a phone call? You know, when they call you from school, like, I'll get Luna school, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm so scared.
Your heart drops and goes, oh, my God, what's going on? Anyways.
Those phone calls, oh, my God. But you got one, right? You had a call
No,
like
but
that?
it was for like a payment. But when I saw like the school name on my phone, my heart like literally dropped. I was like, oh, my God, what is it? And the first thing the lady was like, Mom, everything is fine. We're calling you for this, this, and this. Has nothing to do with your kids. They're perfectly fine.
Well, I can't say the same thing. I have been called like 3 times. This girl hit her, or she hit this girl, or this happened. I'm like, oh.
It is what it is. We roll with the punches.
I know, but yeah, when I see that Luna school calling, I'm like, oh no, tell me it wasn't her fault. And she's okay.
Yeah, it's never our baby's fault. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyways, what are we talking about today? I want to jump straight into it because actually this is a topic that we saw the other day. I think you told me or I told you, I can't remember. We talked.
I saw it. I sent it to you and I'm like, this biatch is crazy.
Yes. The lady we're talking about, I mean, we didn't know about her. I'm going to be honest. We just happened to see the article and on the news and on social media. She is an influencer. Her name is, what is it? Ruby
Frankie.
Ruby Frankie.
She was just arrested. 6 felony counts for aggravated child abuse.
Yes, mind you.
What's crazy? Yeah, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, mind you, this lady, as I'm researching her, because Darlene did send me the article, I go to see who is this lady. And she is an influencer. Her and her family have been, you know, on social media, the platform mostly YouTube, since 2015. Mm-hmm. And it's called 8 Passengers,
8
right?
8 Passengers, because they
have all these kids. Yeah. They have 6 kids, right? Mm-hmm. 6 kids plus some 2, obviously 8 passengers. And she was on there ranting about how to be a good parent, or not a parent, but like, you know, giving parenting advice.
Wow.
Mind you, people sounded
so scary.
They sounded alarms on her though.
Yeah,
people were saying this is crazy because this lady would come on saying basically that she would go ahead and sometimes withhold, not sometimes, maybe always. At this point, I think always after what we found out these past couple of days.
That was one of the things, the food.
Withholding food from her kids when they wouldn't do their chores. And I'm not talking about withholding a piece of candy that they like and saying, no, you're not going to have your favorite, you know, sweets or your cupcake, withholding food.
Yeah.
Like everything, like
I
food.
saw the video when she's like, oh my God, they're going to starve. They're not going to have breakfast. But I mean, you see that and you probably laugh. You're like, oh my gosh, she's kidding. But no, she wasn't kidding. And I guess a lot of these videos came out where people, they saw the red flags.
It's crazy. And that's when we go back to thinking like, you know, when we talked about the parenting styles back in a couple of episodes, remember we went like, I think there's like 7 parenting styles. 4 parenting styles. And there's the one of the authoritarian. And I think she falls in there obviously to the point of abusive now, right? It became an abusive thing with her kids.
Also emotional abuse. I saw a video of, she wanted her daughter to do something and she wouldn't do it. So she grabbed like the daughter's teddy bear and said, if you don't do it, I'm going to cut, you know, your bear's head off. And come on, you're telling this to a kid.
To a child.
My God. And the kid's reaction is just, it broke me. But yeah, she's been arrested, thank God, and
a lot of it's coming to light. I was talking. The reason why we're bringing this up was because obviously, we all lose our patience with our kids. We all try to sometimes, even if we don't fall within that style of parenting, and we might be more. But there's times that we do reprimand. And when does reprimanding get to a point where it's dangerous now? Now it's no longer a healthy reprimanding of you trying to show them consequences and all that. Now it's like to the other extreme. Mm-hmm. And just if you guys are listening and you haven't heard the story, her 12-year-old son ran away from home to a neighbor's house, and he had duct tape around his wrists. He had his ankles, mm-hmm. and he had wounds. Mm-hmm. Everywhere. And the guy the neighbor that called the police station was literally crying on the recording, saying, I've never seen this. Like, we knew there was trouble in this house from previous. Mm-hmm. But he just started crying because the kid was emaciated, hadn't eaten in I don't know how many days.
So he was super malnourished. He was full of open wounds.
Open wounds.
And then he said that he had sisters in the house.
A 10-year-old.
So it was a 10-year-old.
I think it was.
There's, I don't know the ages. I think they're a little bit older.
I think it was 12, 10, but then the other ones weren't there. She does have older kids, mind you. I think these are the youngest ones. Again, don't get this is something we're skimming through because we saw this and we're like, wow, where does it get to a point when you say to yourself, you went overboard with the punishment. You went overboard with the extreme parenting, where it leads into something now that it's no longer about parenting. It's more of an abusive thing.
In her case, because I was watching this interview done to a relative, this person didn't even want to show face. They changed the whole voice. But this relative was saying that it didn't surprise them because apparently, and this is where I'm thinking, are you born with this? Or it's something that you learn because you're being raised in a household where this happens? Because this person was saying exactly that it happened with this person's mom, who would also abuse his sisters or her, because we never saw if it's he or she talking. And then, it could be something that is just multi-generational, that the kids grow up seeing that and they continue doing it.
Yeah, and they don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, they think it's normal.
I just wonder in her case, again, I researched, of what's happening mm-hmm. right now. I don't know her exact story. I just know the thing of her being an influencer since 2015. And
it's crazy
and this
to
and
have
that.
An influencer that's doing this, behind the scenes. And that's why you got to be careful what you watch, who you listen to, everything.
Correct, because you don't know if you're leading this double life. I just wonder, with, because she has more kids than these two. And I think the ones that they talked about specifically when all this came to light, in these past couple of days, was the 12-year-old, obviously, because he's the one that sounded the alarm. He was brave enough to get out of his house, find help. I think, he just couldn't take it, obviously, anymore. And then he also was trying to help his little sister. I believe she's 10 years old, that when they found her as well, she was emaciated. She hadn't eaten in days. And now these kids are with the welfare, family and welfare or whatever. And she is getting sentenced to go to jail, and I wonder her older kids, did they go through this, or did she become more extreme as the more kids she had? Who
knows what's in that head? You're doing a show on parenting tips, and then this is the behavior that you're doing at home with your kids. It makes no sense. But again, she's sick. But that I was reading, and that's extreme parenting. I don't want to even call it parenting because that's abuse.
It's abuse. Well, that got to abuse, most definitely.
Yeah, but I was reading on over parenting, and this is something that I'm like, oh my God, maybe we're doing it because we're talking about excessive parenting and things that take moms that take these extreme parentings and parents that take these extreme measures to educate their kids. Like, if you don't listen to me, I'm not going to give you food. That's because in her mind, she's probably, what she's doing is okay.
Correct. She's like, I'm teaching them a lesson, like the hard way of doing things. But at the end of the day, her kids' health and emotional being and all that it's more abuse than anything else, So, I mean, I had seen, as we were researching this, and again, we had gone through the four
parenting
styles a
styles.
couple episodes back. They had said about the authoritarian parent, which is the one that, seldom shows warmth towards their children. These parents are often quite cold, unkind, and harsh with their kids.
It's all about rules, and
they berate their kids. Basically, it's, they'll scream at them, or they put down the law without letting their kids say, but why? Like, they don't talk to them at all. And I think, again, this lady, fell within that parenting style, but took it to another level of what is abuse. Obviously, you and I are not experts, but we have kids. So
we're experts in our own household, and not even, because we're learning every single day on how to handle different situations.
Absolutely. And I think our reason for bringing it up is like, because we have kids, we've probably reprimanded our kids in a certain way. I'm never ever to that style, but I wonder, where's that thin line that draws between, punishment, regular punishment or teaching consequences, to a parent going overboard, and then that becoming the pattern in their household, where now every day they're withholding food, or every day they're spanking to a point where it's no longer, you know what I mean? It's not, our parents, I think back in the day, our generation, our parents, my dad would have probably given me a little slap on the butt.
Did you? Is that how they?
Yes. Yeah. And I know now, if you even say that, it's like, no, that's abuse,
With me, it was the la chancleta.
Oh, yeah.
The flip-flop, the famous flip-flop, like coming in slow motion towards you.
Yes.
And then the belt. I think my dad once
used the belt.
And so after he hit me with the belt once, every time I would see him like taking it off, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, it's okay.
Yeah.
But the chancleta, the belt, but yeah, and then, I mean, have you hit, like, do you hit your kids? I mean, not do you hit your kids, like, oh, you do it, but have you spanked them?
I think I could say I've spanked them maybe like twice. And again, one of them is 5, the other one's 3. That's not my method at home. That's not what I use. I do reprimand, like when they're doing something that's out of, context, or something that they shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. I have reprimanded them. I have sat them down and I talked to them about them. And if I've screamed and I've lifted my voice to a point where they get scared and then they start crying like, Mommy, are you mad? I end up feeling mom guilt later, and I'm like, okay, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
You know why Mommy got mad? I lost my patience. I'm sorry. I asked you 1,000 times to do something and you didn't do it. And I feel, again, it's the constant talking, but I've never allowed myself to get to a point where, where spanking, hitting is
hurt them physically.
Hurt them physically to teach them a lesson. Like, I've never gotten to that point.
I've probably done it once, where it's like, I'll take her hand and like
spank her hand
like very light. One time she laughed. That was like, she just started laughing, and I'm like, oh, this is not working. But yeah, no, I try not to. Again, it's about, obviously, one thing that I do, and Fabian's always saying, like, don't do that. It's like when you get desperate and you either like scream, or you're like, Luna, da, 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 da. That, I mean, it's normal. Come on. We lose our patience as parents all the time, especially when you're telling them over and over and over again, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And they don't listen. Like, it gets frustrating, but I'm just trying to find a way of not like scream, yell at her, because then she's like, Mom, don't talk to me like that. And that could be as hurtful as physical pain, because it's emotional pain for them. Like, you're hurting my feelings, you raise your voice. And so we just have to be very careful. But yeah, most of the time it really works just sitting down with them and talking.
A lot of talking. I think what maybe happens with some parents is that your patience, I mean, come on, you have, and I'm not vouching for anybody that goes to the extreme of doing something physically or emotionally damaging to their child. But I guess sometimes, people are working, they've got a lot on their plate, and then they're telling their kid 1,000 times, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then it gets to a point where I'm going to see what extreme measures I can take so that they listen, because they're not listening at this point. And again, I'm not condoning what this lady did at all. I think, that is, that's crazy. I mean, you're talking about the health of your child. You're taking away food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're not talking about, again, a candy. We're talking about food. And, I just wonder psychologically, again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a trained professional. Where's that thin line where you end up losing it and you start thinking that these things are normal, that this is okay to do in your household?
probably for her, she thinks this is okay because she went through that. Probably because by this relative of hers saying we're not surprised this happened because it's happening in every generation, so for her probably she was parenting, her skills were okay, her parenting style was fine. She probably didn't know that she was doing something wrong because she laughs about it in one of the videos.
Oh, do you think, because I always analyze things a lot. Do you think this lady being on social media, YouTube channel, 2 million followers, her family starts this whole thing, 2015, maybe she starts off with, all the methods that she uses to discipline her kids, blah, blah, blah. And as time has progressed, her ego got the best of her. And now it's like she went to the extreme, like Hitler style on her kids, to a point where she stopped even realizing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not vouching for her. Maybe she was always like this, because I think the neighbor said something about that there was issues in this household about a year ago. There was something going on and they never reported it to the officials. And when
did they say which issues?
I have no clue. Or they did, or maybe they did report it to them and they never did anything. And it got to the point where obviously this poor kid
that happens so much,
got out of the house and went looking for help, like out of desperation, and it's so scary, like I wonder, like, when does the parent say, shit, I did this, because we all commit errors, and say, I need to get help. I need to go get help. My patience is not, I need help in parenting because I'm not.
I do want to bring somebody to help with that. Like, how do you teach patience to your child? I'm struggling with that. The patience
to your child or to the parent?
And to the parent. Like, how do you teach patience? Because it's something that I see Luna struggling with that, and therefore myself and my husband, and it extends to everybody. But I wanted to say that when we talk about extreme parenting, it's that one, like withholding food or
this is really extreme. This is
very
abusive.
extreme. But there's I was reading about these over-parenting, other issues that have to do with somebody that is the other way around. That it's like, this mom does the kids' homework. She prepares like every meal perfectly. She has that kid like from top to bottom, todo like perfect. It's all about catering to the kid. And then I read like filling up the kid's schedule in the summer. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Because at one point I was like, okay, Monday you're going to do this. Tuesday we're going to do this. I'm like, am I over-parenting? I think we all have done it probably at some point.
Maybe, yes, no. There's so many people out there that you think there's that parent again, which was in the 4 styles again. Going back to that was more of the parent that just like, you do whatever you want.
Do whatever.
Like, do whatever. Dress yourself, brush your teeth, do whatever you want. I'm not going to be on top of you,
Yeah.
I wonder if, though, in that particular case that you're saying, in the future, do you end up, if you're that parent, again, and there's always names for those type of helicopter moms, stuff like that, that's always doing stuff for their kids and not allowing them to do things on their own and always trying to make everything perfect and blah, blah, blah. Like, I wonder in the future if these kids now become useless. Like, do they feel entitled? I'm entitled now because the parent entitled them, meaning the parent showed them that everything gets done for them. Your homework, I'll do it for you. You don't know, I'll sit down, go play, and I'll go do your homework for you. All this stuff is another form of extreme parenting.
Yeah, and also, like, I was reading, like, shielding them from mistakes, sadness, failure, harm, pain, rejection, and frustration. It's like overprotecting them from all of this. Like, I don't want my kid to be sad. I don't want them to not have friends. And sometimes you just have to like let them go and figure it out, because these are like some of the negative effects. It affects their independence, their lack of decision making. When they reach adulthood, they may develop social anxiety, high stress levels. So it's a matter of, just balancing it out. Also, not being all the time, you're so perfect, you're so great, no. Yeah, because then when they get criticized, constructive criticism, they're not going to take it because they've been told so many times, I'm perfect.
Everything is perfect.
Everything is good. Yeah. I'm the best kid ever.
Yeah. And that it definitely is a form of extreme parenting. And again, at the end, I think what it comes down to, for instance, in the case of Ruby Frankie, her poor kids emotionally, physically, and so on have this now ingrained in their head. Who knows with adulthood, if they're going to be able to surpass all the shit, that they had to deal with in their house. And then the other flip side, the parent that is so overbearing, that wants to do everything for the kid, that I have to show them the most love and show them how perfect they are, maybe builds a child later that is entitled. That is completely entitled and feels like everything has to be done. Everything needs to be given to me. I don't need to work for it.
Spoiled. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing an episode on spoiling and spoiling the kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's two extremes. So one of the things that they were saying, like, instead of like doing everything for themselves, for them, it's, teach them to think for themselves, and because it's gonna and help them making better decisions, but not making them for them.
Remember the thing I told you, again, this is something about, and I think we were going to talk about this like in another episode, if anything, but like teaching your kids survival skills. But I do feel it has something to do with this. Like there was something that happened like a couple of months back with like a couple of kids in Colombia. Again, we're talking very differently, you know, but in Colombia, like in the Amazon or whatever, these kids were gone without their parents for 40 days. And these kids they knew.
Not only that, like they survived the plane crash where their mom died.
I know.
So it's like one thing is surviving the physical part of it, the not having water, this or that.
But it goes back to this. It goes back to
it's
the
like
last.
Your mom just died.
I feel like it goes back to the last thing of let's say, for instance, the parent that you mentioned that does everything for their child, doesn't let them figure anything out. Imagine our kids get stranded somewhere. I mean, this is an extreme case of something, but
what would your kids do?
What would your kids? My kids would. They would perish. Let's just put it that way. They would perish because my kids would not know what to do. And I'm talking about these kids were...
No, I think Noah will be like scouting for worms, lizards, and he'll find a way to kill them, eat them.
For the first like maybe 10 minutes until he realizes, shit, what am I doing, you know? But I mean, this is an extreme measure again. But I imagine like these kids, plane crash, they survive. I think it was 4 kids. One was a baby of 1 year old.
11 months, one.
Yeah.
The other one, I actually have that article around here.
But they were little. The biggest was 12.
But they're indigenous.
Yes.
So they were raised there in the Amazon. So it's like they know which fruits, which plants, which seeds. So it's knowing that. I don't even know that.
I wouldn't have survived. No, I would have died of a panic attack. Yeah. I would have died of a heart attack. But I'm just saying, like, I know it's an extreme measure, an extreme case. But just imagine, like, these kids were taught, because they are from the, Amazon or whatever, the indigenous culture. They were taught how to cook for themselves, how to clean, how to find things. We don't do that. Like, we do everything sometimes for our kids. So when they get older, sometimes this extreme parenting leads to them feeling like entitled. Everything has to be done for me. They'll never survive.
And then they don't know how to do anything. Exactly.
They will never survive. Yeah. This other culture has taught their kids from little how to do stuff. So imagine, again, this is extreme. We live in the United States. We can't compare, whatever. I'm just bringing it up because I say to myself, like, in our regular world, where we live in a world where everything is so handy, where we do things for our kids and all that stuff, like we at some point have to also teach our kids to be self-sufficient, not be so extreme on top of them. Love is one thing, but entitlement and making them feel like everything has to be done for them, that they cannot lift a finger to do anything, is another.
Like simple tasks. Like you can start with, let's fold the laundry, let's do the laundry, help me, cook, supervise. And it's just those little simple tasks that we can start doing it with our children, and eventually
essentials, your everyday essentials.
I mean, we're not going to teach them this is the plan, these are the seeds in case this happens to you. And well, we're in Florida in the Everglades. We're in the Everglades.
We're going to raise MacGyvers. Did you ever see MacGyver? The thing, we're going to raise little MacGyvers that know how to like make their own fire, I guess that's why they go to Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts.
I was just going to say that. It's something that, at what age can they start?
I think they could start now. I was even thinking of putting my boys in Boy Scouts.
I think you should.
I think even girls, like I just everybody. I think it's just like things that they teach you, like how to be self-sufficient. I mean, I
will be like, can I bring my princess dress to the Girl Scouts?
Can I camp in my princess like whatever costume?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I can't. I need a. She just started baseball.
Okay.
So it's a lot going. I'm not putting her in anything right now because there goes my Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays for the next like 5 months.
But I like that you have her like in different things. That's good. You teach her different things.
And I want to teach her to play with girls, with boys. You know, she's in an all boys team and she's so excited. You know, she loves it. And then we come home, take off the baseball uniform and put your princess outfit. Yeah, it's and she loves it. And it's teaching her, you know, she can play with boys too. Why not? She can get down and dirty.
Yeah, everything. I mean, we went kind of off topic, but I think it kind of relates, right? We have the Ruby Frankie, super extreme, abusive parenting styles. That's why I think we brought up this topic. And then we have the other extreme that Darlene brought up, saying, you know, it's just everything
for them. Everything for them.
Doing everything for them, you know, which is another extreme parenting.
I think being that I had her at 41 and she's the only one that I have, sometimes I can go to that side of
wanting to do everything
for her and just loving her and kissing her all day.
You're perfect. You're beautiful. You're perfect. You're perfect.
But I don't. Yeah, I tell her you're beautiful, but no, I say nobody's perfect. And when she's wrong, I explain to her. So
Anyways, we want to bring on more professional, again, like how Darlene had said, more professional speakers on here, because obviously we talk from our experience. We talk about what ifs and this and that because we're in the midst of raising our kids right now. But we do want to bring on professionals to talk about how, you know, in this particular case, when you find yourself running out of patience, or when you see that you are building a child that now is entitled, spoiled, so on, like how to kind of get ourselves back on that road where it's balanced, you know? And obviously, if it's abusive, that's another extreme. If you see yourself getting into a point where now you're hitting your kid every day because you yourself are losing, then maybe finding help for it, you know?
So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.
Definitely. Make sure to subscribe.
Yes. Happy parenting.
Bye. Bye.